considering in the first round. It's
Correct.
guys that they're considering day 2, maybe even day 3, that they just want to have a conversation with at this point and get to know a little bit better as they go through the draft process. So, yeah, I think, look, it's not hard to figure out why the Jags would be interested in bringing in edge rushers. They lost Arden Key. Dwan Smoot's not here. They've done nothing to replace those guys on the roster to this point. Nothing of any kind of impact to replace those guys on the roster, and those guys were impact players for the Jags along that defensive front. So, yeah, I think we're all still waiting on them to sign some kind of veteran pass rusher at some point in this offseason, but they haven't done it yet. The draft's coming up, so yeah, they ought to be looking at somebody to help their edge rush. They haven't done anything for it yet.
I will be very surprised if they don't within, I guess once the deadline passes for the compensatory pick formula to be affected, once that comes and goes within a week, if they haven't signed a veteran pass rusher, I'll be really surprised. Even if they draft a couple here.
Yeah, I would be too.
And you look at the kind of guys that they're visiting with, most of them don't fall into the category of likely to be there, or likely to be at the pick at 24, right? Nolan Smith is a guy that you're like, well, maybe he'll be there at 24, maybe he won't be, but he'd be a guy we consider. Do they know something about Tyree Wilson that I don't know? Because every mock's got him in like the top 7 players, but they've had a visit with him as well. So I wonder, could the Jags have a draft day surprise up their sleeve, or are they just preparing in case, a certain scenario? Maybe their mock drafts internally are showing that, this guy, if it goes a certain way, could be one of the guys that slips a little bit into a range. Otherwise, it seems like he's a lock for the top 10, and it doesn't seem like they've got the juice to go up there and grab a guy.
Seems unlikely, yeah.
Now, they had a chance, like the rest of the National Football League, to grab a guy who was top 3 in his draft class. Jeff Okudah was available, and we talked a little bit about that Monday, right? And somebody said, man, I remember on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, I give him a 3 right now. And the rumor was the Rams, when we talked about, they had 13 picks, and they had multiple third-rounders, would give a third and maybe a 6th. And then he goes for a 5th-round pick to the Atlanta Falcons. So it's two sides of this. Jeff Okudah clearly is a talented guy, dealt with injuries. I mean, everybody loved him coming out, was the clear-cut number 1 corner in his class, and he goes for a 5th-round pick. So is it worth the gamble, or do they know that we don't know, right? And so today's Chad and Sandy Real Estate question of the day along those lines already got 150 votes on this. So I wasn't sure this one would move the needle enough because it just kind of popped up. But we're asking, should the Jacksonville Jaguars have been willing to trade a 4th-round pick to Detroit for former overall number 3 pick cornerback Jeff Okudah? He was traded to the Falcons for a 5th-rounder. You got 2 choices. Yes, it was worth the gamble, or no, hashtag Bulky Masterclass. In Trent we trust, because everybody loves Trent now, or certainly more fond and in their affections towards him at this point in time. And we'll debate that a little bit today as far as that goes. And the word is Atlanta has the 5th-year option that they could use on him, which would pick up his contract for next year, but that they're not going to do it. And so that's one of the factors. Like, okay, 5th-round pick, but if he has a decent year and he signs somewhere else and he leaves and we don't retain him, we spent a 5th-round pick, but we might get a 4th-round compensatory pick, like a couple years down the road. So was it worth the risk? You determine that. You can vote on that at MD_1010XL. Also hit us up on Twitter today at 1010XL Fat Tony and at IME2 the T.
Ooh, come on, somebody.
We'll pause for effect right there and hit us up on the phone lines today or the text line at 641-1010. Text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Our guy, it's Tony Pauline season right now, right? I heard Chad Ryder with you yesterday. I think he does an excellent job as well. You guys were breaking down that 4-round mock and his thoughts on the draft class. Tony Pauline, we hope today and maybe early in draft week, a couple weeks from now, we'll get him on. But we'll get all the latest scuttlebutt from him and, who's moving up the board, so to speak, right now. Matt Miller over at ESPN Tone put out his top 368. It's a pretty big number.
Something in there,
right? Is
that how many picks there are in the draft?
No, it's 200-something. That's why, it was a very oddly specific number, right? But Matt Miller's top 368 prospects. Whatever. And remember the other day we talked about Jim Nagy of the Senior Bowl tweeting out that from the people he's talked to, that the media is way off on the wide receiver class.
Yeah.
That many teams only have Jackson Smith and Jigba rated as a first rounder. He's got 5 first-round wide receivers. Maybe he's right? Maybe Nagy's wrong. Maybe people are, careful around Jim Nagy because they're afraid that he's going to go to Twitter and even without naming them, put a little intel out. Who knows? But get into all those things today. So if you want to talk Jaguar football with us, you know the ways to do it. We'll go around the National Football League today. We'll welcome in Tony Pauline about 45 minutes from now. We'll debate Jeff Okudah, but we'll kick in next with the list of Jaguar visits, try to bore down into that and see if we can learn anything else from the positions that they've been looking at in the run-up to the NFL draft coming up in just over 2 weeks from now. With Tony Smith and ET, I'm Mike Dempsey. Glad to be back. Glad to have my guys backing me up yesterday for sure, but glad to be back so it didn't look like I took a 4-day vacation this week. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's another Waste Management Wednesday in the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios on 1010XL.
If you're often tired, have trouble exercising, or your heartbeat feels irregular, you might have atrial fibrillation, or AFib. Left untreated, AFib can put a strain on your heart and increase your risk of a stroke. But the new Heart Rhythm Center at Baptist Health can help. With the latest treatment options for heart disorders like AFib, our team of specialists can get you feeling stronger again. Learn more at baptistjacks.com/AFib or call 904-202-2342.
Mia here, and this spring you might be wondering, why is the sky blue? How do flowers grow? And the biggest question of all, why buy from Arlington Toyota? I'll tell you why. First, peace of mind. Buy any new Toyota from Arlington and their lifetime warranty goes with you. That's unlimited time and unlimited miles. Plus, there's Arlington's 30-day exchange program. It's 30 days to love your new purchase or exchange it. You even get complimentary car wash with your service visit. Now you know why you should buy from Arlington. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
No dental insurance? No problem. Introducing the Care Plus program from the dental offices of Dr. James McCall. For only $625 per year, you will receive 2 cleanings and dental exams, a full set of x-rays, plus 1 emergency dental exam and x-ray. You'll also receive a 20% discount on all other services offered. Kids 12 and under will receive the same program for only $525. Call Dr. McCall today at 620-9225.
If you like live music, fun activities, and sipping your favorite drink at a tiki bar, you don't have to travel far or break the bank to make it happen. Island Oaks RV Resort is just past McClenny off of exit 333, offering all of this. Visit islandoaksrvresort.com to book your stay.
There's nothing like a good fish story.
You're never going to believe me, but it was this big.
On the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show with Captain Kevin Faber.
Thursday nights at 6.
Golly, that's exciting.
On 1010XL AM.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, it's Prosser here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? Does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound about right now? Well, Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loans, consolidate all your payments into one check per month, and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now to see what your options are. Call Loan Pronto at 999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Score more savings at your home team AgPro. Right now, get a John Deere Z920M starting at $11,299. Team up with us online at agproco.com to find the location nearest you. See dealer for details. Offer ends 4/30/23. Summer restrictions apply.
Hey, Jack's Beats, Jeff Loggeman here. Hungry for the best brisket, pulled pork, spare ribs, jalapeno poppers, banana pudding? The Bearded Pig is there for you on 3rd Street to feed your whole crew. And don't worry for the folks in town, we're still here in San Marco. The Bearded Pig, Southern Barbecue and Beer Garden.
Don't walk, Run to the Jacksonville Sharks for their first home game against the San Antonio Gunslingers this Saturday, April 15th at 7 o'clock at VyStar Arena. It's affordable fun with tickets as low as $15. Dust off your best 90s outfit, tie-dye bomber jackets and cargo pants, and get ready to party for the Sharks' longtime fan favorite 90s night. Saturday, April 15th. 7 o'clock at VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Call 621-0700 or check out jacksharks.com for tickets as low as $15. Fins up.
Stop wasting your money on bottled water and call Dug Duck Rooter. We can install a new water filtration system and softener at your home or business. Check out our 5-star Google reviews and give us a call today for a quote. DugDuckRooter.com.
This is Hayes Carlion for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Fact, we all want to feel better, especially when our joints hurt. Are you stuck on the sidelines but want to get back in the game of life? My friend Dr. Alan Nathans has a no-needle regenerative clinic for people with degenerated arthritic joints, like bone-on-bone knees, shoulders, hips, and more. He uses no-needle soft-wave tissue regeneration technology that activates your own stem cells to grow brand-new tissue. Long-term results. Don't do another cortisone injection. Dance at 50, golf at 60, river run at 70. Yes, yes, and yes. Check out Dr. Nathans at drnathans.com.
Feel the thrill of live NASCAR play-by-play.
He's got him! Oh, there we go!
This Sunday at Martinsville. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. From Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
He was probably the best player on Alabama's defense, the most impactful player at times, even, sometimes more than Will Anderson, because you could play him anywhere. So I think you could, depending on the formation, you can line him up in the slot. You could line him up in the free. You could put him outside. I mean, he does a little bit of everything.
Now more Jaguars today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Brian Branch does a little bit of everything. I feel like I still see him in plenty of mocks. I don't feel like, for some in the fan base tone, he is the top choice, right? I do get that. But I feel like there was much, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, Brian Branch would have been one of the top couple of players. And that may be still the case, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just a feel thing that, you've seen a lot of corners there, seen a lot of offensive linemen there, occasionally get the pass rusher there. I don't know. Brian Branch.
Yeah. Well, Branch was one of the guys that kind of got circled to some degree in the draft conversation here in Jacksonville early on.
Yeah.
Right? It was, and it's not unusual, especially when you're picking as deep into the first round as the Jaguars are, that you kind of, okay, we talked about him 2 months ago. I'm done talking about him, right? That's not unusual for that to be the way that conversation goes. I still think he's solidly in play for the Jags at 24.
Probably so.
Yeah.
I know you touched on Kuiper's latest mock draft yesterday, right? Lucas Van Ness, Cam Smith, sign us up right now. I mean, skip to the third round. You good with that?
Yeah. I'd be totally on board with that. And Cam Smith, by the way, is visiting with the Titans today, scheduled to come for a visit with the Jags tomorrow.
How are you going to get Cam Smith in Nashville when you give all your draft picks to move up to 3? That's the buzz, right? I mean, that really is the team that's everyone's buzzing about.
Yeah.
That the Titans are going to make that move for the quarterback, and it could be Anthony Richardson. It likely will be Anthony Richardson. I don't you get the sense that if they do go young to Carolina, that either Houston takes Stroud or somebody is Houston going to take a position player and not get something for their troubles for sitting in that spot where they could get probably the second cleanest quarterback prospect at work? Maybe in some people's minds, the cleanest quarterback prospect at 2. But what's the trade situation though, right? You're not going to give Indy the chance in your division to come up.
Probably not.
So is there a Seattle that's willing to jump up that high? Or maybe they're in a position where people are like, you know what? we're going to see what happens, and then we're going to do business with Arizona at 3, as long as we get in front of Indy. And then, I don't know. It just depends on how people feel about this class. It's kind of crazy. But now the betting odds have flipped to Bryce Young, once again being the number 1 pick. There's enough people, like the whole ESPN intelligentsia is saying that Bryce Young will be the pick of the Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Stroud just visit with the Panthers yesterday?
Something like that, yeah.
Did they have was he rude at dinner or
I don't know, yeah.
Seemed pretty definitive right there. Matt Miller, let me touch on this real quick here. He's got Will Anderson is number 1. Prisco's down on Will Anderson, right? You saw Chris Sims' rankings of the edge rushers?
I did.
Had him 5th, right?
Yeah.
Look, we all like to rip Chris Sims because at times he says some really idiotic stuff, right? It seems like, right? But at least he has his own opinions. And he might be right. He might be wrong about that. And he, of course, really loves Zach Wilson coming out, and that's one we just laugh at in hindsight. But, I mean, he went high, so not the only one who loved him. It's got Will Anderson, Matt Miller does at number 1, Bryce Young at number 2, Bijan, my guy, at 3, and then Stroud and Jackson Smith in Jigba in the top 5.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about Bryce Young going number 1. Again, there's no reason for Jaguar fans to fear, right? You've got Trevor Lawrence. You've got the guy that's going to – I don't care. You can throw Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and C.J. Stroud into the AFC South, and I think 4 years from now, Trevor Lawrence still clearly the best quarterback in the division.
Agreed.
Right? Probably biased, but I strongly feel that way. I imagine most Jaguar fans do as well. That doesn't mean I want the Texans to have C.J. Stroud and his teammate Jackson Smith and Jigba to fall into their lap at 2-12. You know what I mean? Like Jackson Smith and Jigba is the one guy that everyone has as a first-round wide receiver, and to have that instant chemistry coming in, why give? You know what I mean? Like, why give him the benefit of anything?
Yep,
if
worked
it
out
falls
pretty
that
well
way?
for the Bengals.
Right. Who else? You got Tua and Waddle. Right. I mean, you got Hurts and Devontae Smith, I think, played together, overlapped a little bit.
Yeah.
Right there. By the way, I saw a Connecticut Jag fan on Twitter. I don't know what he was replying. A Darius Slay tweet that said, we don't have a wide receiver 2 in Philly. In other words, we have 2 number 1s.
Yeah.
Got A.J. Brown, and we got Devontae Smith. And so our guy, Johnny, up in Connecticut, who tweets the program frequently, posted Christian Kirk's numbers versus Devontae Smith. And they're strikingly similar. I mean, strikingly similar, right? 84 catches for Christian Kirk, 95 for Smith. 1108 for Kirk, 1196 for Smith. 8 TDs for Kirk, 7 for Smith. 13.2 yards a catch for Kirk, 12.6 for Smith. Long at 49, long at 45. Very similar. But Smith put those numbers up with A.J. Brown getting all that action.
Well,
Can Christian Kirk match those numbers with Calvin Ridley?
I think it's pretty clear Darius Slay considers Christian Kirk a wide receiver 1.
Maybe he does,
Yeah.
right? Or absolutely. You know, Darius Slay is probably having remorse that all he did was tweet googly eyes at Jacksonville instead of taking him seriously there this offseason. All right, so let me just hit these wide receivers real quick. He's got Jackson Smith and Jigba. Again, this is Matt Miller at ESPN at 5 overall. That is the highest I've seen him, right? And then doesn't have another wide receiver until the 23rd pick, but the back end of the first round is loaded with pass catchers. Zay Flowers out of Boston College, who we've been hearing some teams have as their number 1 wide receiver on the board. Maybe get into that with Tony Pauline a little bit later on this morning. He's got Jordan Addison. If you're wondering who's the 24th best player, according to Matt Miller, and if it went that way, Jordan Addison out of USC, no thanks, man. I'm not taking a 175-pound wide receiver with the 24th pick. If he can't run like D-Jax, right? And he's got Jalen Hyatt at 26. He's got Quentin Johnson at 31. So that's 5 guys that are graded in the top 31, which that's how many first-round picks there are this year. All right, from 24 through 31, tell me which player out of this group. I think the options are limited for the Jags here, but there are a couple that are intriguing. Right? I mentioned Addison. We're not going to take Will Levis, who he's got a 25.
Nope.
Not going to take Hyatt. Not going to take Hendon Hooker, who's got a 27. Brian Branch.
Okay.
Okay. Will McDonald out of Iowa State.
Okay.
Then you got Darnell Washington, the Georgia tight end, at 30. Choice of those three guys. What are you doing?
I'm probably going Branch.
I probably am too. You know why? Unless I think McDonald is just such a cut above over the rest of this class. When you look at that visit list for the Jags, if you get Yaya Diaby in the 3rd round or the 4th round, dare I say, like, we don't know where these guys are going to come off, or like a Keon White in the 2nd round, like we saw in Demetrius Harvey's mock this week. I don't know if there's another guy that I feel, and there probably are. We probably talked about one or two along the way that could come in, play nickel like Branch does, be a playmaker, maybe project down the road. He's got the skill set. He can play safety. He's just a versatile piece. And the Jags did play a lot of 3 safety looks last year.
They did.
As well. That's more, I don't know if, I mean, here he's got Branch rated basically even with McDonald.
Yep.
But I think, when you're.
They both got the same grade. I don't know how he differentiated between them.
They got a
with
90,
the order.
right?
They all got a 90.
Right, that's a good point, because from Zay Flowers at 23 down through Keon White at 34, they all have the same grade.
Yeah, I don't know how he determines what order to put those guys in.
Should we be considering a Jags trade down more than we are at this point?
I think my gut tells me the Jags would love to be able to trade down in this draft. I don't know how feasible that's going to be at 24 compared to if you were 3 or 4 picks later.
Later, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's a little less cost.
Yeah.
A little less cost on the contract, and you're looking for one of those teams that's going to come up for the 5th quarterback.
Right,
maybe.
and it's a bunch of teams that are behind you that are also playoff teams, right? So their needs are going to be limited, the guys that are drafting for the rest of the first round behind you. So maybe one of those teams gets antsy with a particular prospect and wants to make a move, from 27 or 28 to get up to 24. It's possible. It's just less likely than being picked 29, 30, 31, and somebody in the top 5 or 6 picks in the 2nd round saying, we got to go get her a guy. It's less likely to me.
And also, all right, so you've got 10 guys, 11 guys roughly, with the exact same grade, even assuming the Jags board fell the same way. And it's tough to assume that because, again, if you're taking in positional need into your evaluation,
their board won't be Matt Miller's board.
It won't be, but right. So, but if it were, and 4 of those guys are wide receiver, and that's not where you're looking. So, okay, yeah, we've got 10 guys with the same grade, but really only interested in 4 of them.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like you can slide back anywhere in that first round and still
and that's
assure yourself.
where, the Jags having so many edge rushers in to visit, right, that it's pretty clear from a league perspective they're looking at what the Jags are doing with their visit and saying at some point they're going to take an edge, right? Whether it's a
maybe
24,
multiples, right?
Like whether it's the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round, this is a team that is interested in an edge. So if we're on the clock, say in the 2nd round, if you're a team that's on the clock and you know the Jags are coming up, they didn't take one in the 1st round, well, we can call the Jags because they may be getting antsy about getting their guy.
True.
Right? And so if you have a team that is drafting after you, you don't want a wide receiver if you're Jacksonville necessarily, but some team that is interested, that's the team you call, right? Like, you don't wait for them to call you necessarily. You call them and say, hey, what can we do to make something happen here? Are you interested in making some kind of move based on whatever they're interested in at that point in the draft?
Some interesting guys that he has ranked as 2nd-round players that are frequently discussed, even for the Jags in round 1, and we'll take a look at that as we continue along this morning. Again, we'll get into the specifics of these visits with Jacksonville so heavily on the pass rush side of things. And, you want to suss these guys out, right? I mean, there's the one camp, you don't want to tip your hand. You don't want to bring in anybody that you're really interested in. Okay, well, then you don't get to find, guess what? We're going to draft an edge rusher or 2 at some point in this draft. Probably a lot of teams are interested in doing that. Miles Murphy, by the way, I hope you had a nice visit, right? Was here yesterday. A lot of people think that. You had him in your top 3 wish list the other day. That would be pretty sweet.
That'd be awesome.
Potentially, right there. And give Trevor some more of that Clemson love. He and Travis Etienne, welcome him on board. 641-1010 if you want to be a part of it. Today's question of the day having to do with the move the Jags did not make yesterday, and that was in trading for Jeff Okudah. And we asked you, should the Jags have been willing to give up one of those 2 fourth-round picks that they own this year? Atlanta acquired Okudah, who was the former number 3 overall pick in the draft. He's had injury issues, and clearly, if he were playing up to the number 3 pick in the draft level, wouldn't be available for a 5th-round pick. But was that worth the risk for you to take that shot, or are you trusting the bulky masterclass to continue? You can vote on Twitter on that one, and pretty close right now. Started out heavily, yes, worth the gamble. It's settling in that 55-45 range right now. Pro, take the chance in the 4th round. You think about it. If I were to tell you the Jags were going to come out of this draft with 3 rock-solid contributors / starters, or soon-to-be start, like if you drafted an offensive tackle, but he was starting by next year, is that a sufficient draft class? Think about that, and we'll come back and discuss that a little bit as well, because, as you get better, it's great to have all these picks. They're not all going to make the football team, so what's the best use of resources as we stand here 15 days out from day 1 of the 2023 NFL Draft? With Tony Smith and ET, I'm Mike Dempsey. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Waste Management Wednesday continues from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios on 1010XL.
Honda has done it again with their all-new exciting SUV and truck lineup for 2023. HRV, Pilot, Passport, Ridgeline trucks, and our popular CRV hybrid. This is without a doubt Honda's most impressive lineup. Visit your local Honda dealer today. We're dealing.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is the sports medicine leader in Northeast Florida. We're proud to be the official sports medicine provider for your hometown teams, including the Jaguars, Sharks, Axemen, Armada, and the Jumbo Shrimp. We have the most cutting-edge resources for sports medicine care, including Active Armor casting, Alter-G anti-gravity treadmills, and highly trained physicians and athletic trainers. JOI is truly where the pros go, and so should you.
Now is the best time to visit CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. With any new outdoor kitchen purchase, you can receive a Gosney Rockbox pizza oven for free, only until April 20th. You dream it, they build it at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
This is Hayes Carlyon for Spicklemeyer Insurance Agency. I was paying too much for car insurance, paying for things I didn't need. My friend John Spicklemeyer fixed all that for me with impeccable customer service. For all your car insurance needs, call John at 471-7155.
It's a Monday morning must. What's that smell? Tony Baselli, Dan Hicken, and Jeff Prosser.
You smell something?
Breakfast with Boselli.
Smells super.
Brought to you by Epstein & Robbins DUI Defense Firm. Monday morning on 1010XL.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Mom. Looking for a great way for your kids to enjoy sports? Check out I-9 Sports, the way youth sports should be, offering flag football, basketball, soccer, and t-ball in Duval, St. Johns, and Clay County. You can play year-round, fall, winter, spring, and summer seasons with co-ed programs ages 3 to 17. Enter promo code 1010XL to receive $5 off registration. All the details are at i9sports.com.
Are you an electrician looking for better pay and benefits? Miller Electric Company has the industry-leading compensation package. Electricians are eligible for a signing bonus up to $1,000. Now, they're partnering with the Jaguars in their new performance facility, the Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric has opportunities for you to work on some of the most exciting projects right here in Jacksonville. Whether you're experienced or not, visit MillerCareers.com, an equal opportunity employer. That's MillerCareers.com.
Did you know that many cooling companies are now part of big conglomerates with no connection to Northeast Florida? In the past, they have concentrated on heating and air conditioning, but after a buyout, many add plumbing and electrical services. This raises their overhead, and those costs are passed on to the consumer. It's a case where bigger isn't better, it's just more expensive. Not Mike Merritt's Heating and Air. Mike Merritt remains family-owned and operated. Merritt's focus has been the same for more than 30 years, keeping Northeast Florida comfortable, no matter what the weather. And there are no overtime or weekend surcharges. Mike Merritt's team does not work on commission. They repair only what needs repair and offer replacements only on what can't be fixed. And unlike at giant corporations where you can feel like just another number, with Mike Merritt, you'll feel like number one. Florida license CACO 50384.
Tired of the same old places for happy hour? Downtown's best is at Bellwether. It's Tuesday through Saturday from 4 to 7, with the exception on Friday when happy hour starts at 11 because why not? For all you late-nighters, Bellwether offers nightcap specials on Friday and Saturday from 9 to 11. Want a snack with your cocktail? Bellwether has a unique bar food spread. And guess what? All metered parking is free after 6 and weekends. That's Bellwether downtown.
Bet on the ball game. Get your money down. Money lines, totals, and parlays. Where cash and tickets all around.
It's baseball betting season, and VSiN's 2023 MLB betting guide is a home run for bettors. Download your free special edition of the guide, featuring a betting preview of the Atlanta Braves and Tampa Bay Rays at 1010XL.com. That's 1010XL.com.
As parents, we all want to ensure that our children are safe, secure, and healthy starting day one. Please make sure your newborn is sleeping safely. Visit WilsonChildren's.com/SafeSleep for infant safety tips.
What do you hear on the street these days, Huggy?
There was a time when something was missing from the First Coast radio dial.
Dig this.
1010XL. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
I'm going to say they take Miles Murphy out of Clemson. I think he'll be there. I think they'll go that direction and continue to bolster the pass rush. So in trying to find the guy that I think is going to be there and the guy that makes sense.
Jaguars today
on 1010XL.
The Hammer with Tony yesterday, Hayes Carline from the Franchi Show. Now, wait a minute, Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Hayes tell us that Nolan Smith was a future Jacksonville Jaguar? Does Hayes have some inside tip that they're going to acquire 2 first-round picks that they can get both Smith and Murphy, let Josh Allen walk after this year? Trayvon Walker will blossom into a 13-sack guy and will have the best pass rush, at least in the AFC South.
That's a lot going on.
That is a lot going on in one sentence right there.
Yeah.
But on the list from Matt Miller, Jags, if it goes this way, would not have a shot at either one of them. Nolan Smith at 14, Miles Murphy out of Clemson at 17. So I got no problem going, look, Trayvon, jury's still out, right? But there's no question Georgia, Alabama, Clemson, and a handful of others keep going to the same well, right? I mean, that's where the best recruiting classes are. They miss on a few. They don't miss on all of them. Give you a few second-rounders on Miller's list that the Jags are interested in or may be interested in a moment here. On Twitter, though, our man Doom says, it's not that Chris Sims like Zach Wilson, at least not for me. It's that he went over the top in his continuing push that he was better than Trevor Lawrence. That earns a like right there. I mean, again, that doesn't mean he's wrong about every evaluation, right? He might be right. I mean, and again, Pete Prisco's like, you're a bunch of sheep who like Will Anderson out there, and we respect Pete. Doesn't mean he's going to be right on everything, although he'll tell you he is. It wouldn't be Pete otherwise. Big Will says that in reference to Jeff Okudah, he hasn't proven that he's worth it, which is why the Lions moved on. That's always part of it, right? I mean, why is he available for this? Well, because he hasn't lived up to it, but does he still have it in him? Does he have something between number 3 overall pick and 5th round value in him? And how much is that worth to give up for only 1 year if you're not going to pick up that 5th year option? He's now 2 years removed from an Achilles tear, but the network struggled to even find actual plays he made in the highlights after the trade. So there's that, right? That's where we talked about it the other day, Tone. Pro personnel, pro scouting department Jags may have, rolled their eyes at any suggestion that Jeff Okudah was worth any kind of investment for this football team. And Detroit did stock up on those cornerbacks as well. All right, I want to get to some of these second rounders here, at least according to Miller's rankings. But with Tony Pauline on the way, Tony Smith going to take you around the National Football League.
Now, Gems Around the NFL, brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Running back Saquon Barkley will reportedly not sign his franchise tender before the Giants begin their offseason program next week, so he won't be able to come in for that program or anything with the Giants until he signs that tender or gets a long-term deal done before the deadline for players to negotiate those deals on the franchise tag. We'll see when Barkley is in a Giants uniform again at some point this offseason. The Detroit Lions have traded cornerback Jeff Okudah to the Atlanta Falcons in exchange for a fifth-round draft pick. Okudah was selected third overall by the Lions in the 2020 draft. He has 2 interceptions and 10 passes defensed in his first 3 seasons. The Lions create a little over $5 million in cap space with the trade. ESPN's Jenna Lane reported yesterday that the Tampa Bay linebacker Devin White has requested to be traded. The Bucs apparently have no interest in trading White. White is set to make $11.7 million this season while playing on the 5th-year option. He was selected as a second-team All-Pro in 2020 and a Pro Bowler in 2021.
You know who's not going to make $11.5 million? Foye Oluokun, Roquan Smith, all these guys, and Devin White's like, underpaid, baby.
Yeah.
Must be nice to get 11 point whatever and be underpaid. But, hey, look, I get immediately, you think, well, where'd the Jaguars get their defensive coordinator? Oh, the Tampa Bay linebackers coach, Mike Caldwell?
Sure.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And then you're like, I even saw somebody today, it's a perfect fit for the Jags. Where? I mean, that's Foye, right? I mean, that's whose spot he would be playing in. All right, so you play them next to each other. Now what are you doing with Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma that you invested 4 picks in combined last year with the trade up to get Lloyd? Anyway, I mean, great player, really good player. Good blitzer, good in coverage, does everything. I think he's one of the better interior linebackers in the National Football League, and he's still young.
Yeah.
But I just, too much of a luxury for this football team, man. Would be nice. Would be nice. All right, let me just give you a couple names here that are interesting to me, at least. We've heard about the rise of Sam Laporta, right, out of Iowa, the tight end. Miller's got him at 46. We've seen him mocked as high as 15th, I think, to Green Bay.
Yep.
Kind of came out of the blue about a week ago. This is the one. Our man Tony Pauline, who's going to join us here in less than 15 minutes, told us he does not think Osiris Torrance goes in the first round.
Yeah.
Miller's got him ranked as the 47th best prospect in the draft. And I know there are a lot. Look, if the Jags go that way and I don't know if he's a perfect fit for their scheme, but if they do go that way, and I'm going to trust them because I think they've done pretty well in player procurement over the last couple of years here, but you're starting to see a little bit more of this where he has fallen outside. I think Jeremiah had him at like 37, right? So, a lot of the mocks, I guess team could use a guard. He's probably the best guard. Well,
okay.
Doesn't mean he's a top 31 player.
Yeah.
Brian Brzee at 50.
Yeah.
For Matt Miller. Right? That's a guy that if the Jags took Brzee, I don't think most people would bat an eye with that. There were 1 or 2 others here. Keely Ringo is interesting. He's all over the place. You've seen him in the tail end of first rounds, the corner out of Georgia, and here he's got him ranked 56th. And then the one that really opened my eye, and who knows if he's right, Cam Smith down at 63. You're talking about end of the second round, and Kuiper had him going to the Jags at 56. And again, we've seen how many mocks, Tone, with Cam Smith at 24. If you can get him at 56, that's why, even if you're off a little bit on the value in the first round there, I got to believe that's a value pick.
Yeah,
in the
you would
middle
think
of round
so.
2.
And by the way, at 69 on that list for Matt Miller, the first player that he has in that 70 to 79 range, Luke Schoonmaker, that was who Ryder had in the 4th round of the Jags.
Yes.
The tight end out of Michigan.
So he's ranked 69,
Yeah.
which is nice for him. And
Siaki Ika.
he is a guy,
who
though.
was the other 4th round pick, yeah.
Right. Was it both the 4th round picks, and those would be high 3rd round values, according to this list. But Schoonmaker is one guy that I did want to ask Tony Pauline about today, because I think you and I probably, at least I have, come to the point where I'm going to be surprised if they go tight end in the first round.
Yeah.
Because of the depth,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying they can't use it.
I think we've discussed it. It's still in play because they don't have anything long-term in the room
Correct.
right now.
Right. You can't write it off entirely, but I think these other positions are going to take more importance in their eyes. But Schoonmaker is a guy who might be available in round 3, you know, and how much are you losing if you go that route and he falls in your lap there compared to taking a shot on one of these guys projected in the first round? Where do you have Dalton Kincaid, by the way? I thought he had him a lot. He had him at 19. Okay, because Jeremiah had him at 9, I think, which either way means it'd be a value pick at 24, but, you know, big difference between being a top 10 overall player and a top 20 overall player. All right, Tony Pauline on the other side, so we'll take a little bit of an early break, get him on straight up at the top of the hour from Pro Football Network. Going to be one of our last visits with him as we tune up for the NFL draft. So listen in. More draft talk, another hour to go on your Jacksonville Jaguars straight ahead on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helping you over the hump. It's a Waste Management Wednesday on Jaguars Today.
This is Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
JOI, where the pros go. Ever wonder what Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser did before the drill?
Actually, we're unemployed, all right? Yeah.
Dan and Jeff.
I'll bet you $5 you can't tell which one's the ex-con.
Mornings on 1010XL.
It's all coming back to me.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about not being afraid of the crosses of life. Life can be difficult. Maybe today you're carrying a cross of worry or stress. Let me encourage you to remember that when Christ got on the big cross at Golgotha, he destroyed all the little crosses that we face in our life. He set us free from fear, worry, and anxiety. Our job is not to be carried by the cross, but to be carried by our faith.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
Hey folks, you ever search why Shark Coatings is the best? Well, one of the many reasons is our polyurea. We don't just buy it from anyone who has it in stock. We custom blend ours, specializing between summer and winter blend, providing you with the best product for our area. After grinding the concrete, that polyurea will form a permanent bond at the molecular level and will not pull away like epoxy. With Shark Coatings, not only will your garage look awesome, but your pool deck, patio, or driveway will too. See how Shark Coatings can make a difference for you. Call, click, or text today.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Tacos, tequila, and tunes. The third annual Jacksonville Taco and Margarita Festival returns to TIAA Bank Field April 22nd. Check out Jacksonville's best food trucks, serving up an amazing variety of mouth-watering tacos with margaritas, tequila, and ice-cold beer. Fun for the whole family with live music, kids' activities, and so much more. Parking is free. It's not your average Taco Fest. Enjoy as you go with GA or Grande with VIP passes. Available now at TIAABankfield.com.
It's the home opener for the Jacksonville Sharks this Saturday, April 15th at 7 o'clock at the VyStar Arena. Cheer the Sharks to victory over the San Antonio Gunslingers.
Hey, it's Sharks head coach Jason Gibson, and this week join us as we take on the San Antonio Gunslingers. The Gunslingers will bring in a high-powered attack, but teams will find out fast how hard it is to play in the Shark Tank.
It's family affordable fun with tickets as low as $15. Call 621-0700 or go to jacksharks.com. Fins up.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Mia O'Brien here, and let me tell you, Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic is a whole lot more than just a catchy jingle. A couple weeks ago, I started smelling something funky in my backyard and washing machine. So I gave Jeff and the gang at Duck Duck a call. Not only did they send a highly skilled technician to my house right away, he cleaned out my septic tank within a few hours. Folks, it's more than just a jingle. When you get stuck, just call the Duck, 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com.
At the Daily Stash, they're kicking pimento and taking names. Come in and try the April sandwich of the month, the Kickin' Pimento BTT. More dash deliciousness filled with pimento cheese, bacon, tomatoes, and turkey. Are we hungry yet? Quality ingredients, friendly service, the Daily's Dash experience is going to be a pimento-kicking eye-opener for you. From locally sourced coffee ground fresh every morning to the mouth-watering sandwich menu, stop at the Daily's Dash today and try the Kickin' Pimento BTT, the Daily's Dash Sandwich of the Month.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at goosehead.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hi, I'm Niall Lawrence Stample, owner of NLS Cleaning and former Florida State national champion. When it comes to cleaning the exterior of your home or business, NLS Cleaning is a team you can count on. Our winning strategy tackles any tough job, from soft washing to gutter cleaning, paver sealing and window cleaning, everything in between. Call the pros at NLS Cleaning to get a champion's clean. Visit nlscleaning.net or call 904-708-8802.
What's the famous automotive philosophy? It means consistency across all 20 locations for friendly service, honest pricing, and realistic time expectations, so you know your vehicle is in good hands at any Famous Automotive and Famous Quick Lube.
I'm Taylor Dahl with your 1010XL local sports update. Gerard Encarnacion matched a career high with 4 RBIs for the Jumbo Shrimp last night as they win their 3rd straight game, beating Charlotte 9-5. All 9 Shrimp batters reached base in the win, with 8 reaching multiple times. And number 3 Gator Baseball used a 4-run 8th inning to come from behind and clinch a series over Florida State last night in a 5-3 win. The pitcher's duel early in the game started heating up in the 6th with 3 runs from the Noles. The Gators flipped the switch in the 8th, leading to the victory. And Todd Golden adds more talent to the Gator squad. Former Iona guard Walter Clayton Jr. is transferring to Florida, choosing Florida over his former coach and Rick Pitino at St. John's. It's 73 degrees at 10:56. Time and temp are brought to you by Bueller Air Condition. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jaguars Today
on 1010XL.
Scouts have really been impressed with Deonte Banks' interviews. He's come across as genuine. He's come across as someone who loves football. He's got great size. He had a great combine workout, but more than anything else, I mean, he had a real good season last year and really jumped on the radar out of nowhere.
Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The self-styled biggest Led Zeppelin fan, and at least North America. Tony Pauline, minutes away here from joining us. I do think he has gotten into Zeppelin a little bit, just through Tony Pauline's appearances on this program.
Yeah, he definitely upped my Led Zepp, my Zepp game.
Your Zepp game?
Yeah,
You're getting the let out in there
What's
right
not
now.
to love?
A whole lot of love.
Oh,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
nice. Very nicely done. Tony Pauline, just a couple minutes away. I kind of threw that question out there, you know, as I tend to do, totally forget about it. But while I'm thinking of it, how many, like last year, you had a couple of corners, and maybe they turn into something, maybe they don't, right? The better your team gets, you got a lot of draft picks, like the Jags have 9, get those 6th and 7th round picks, it's harder and harder for them to make an impact, right?
Sure.
So how many players would satisfy you? Of course, we want 9 great players, right? But how many, if you got, how many starters / heavy rotation players out of this draft would satisfy you in the sum total of things?
Probably 3.
3 for me too.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, if they have, and it hasn't been a common occurrence when you look at, and it's the reason why the Jags have been the Jags for the last 15 years, how many guys even get to a second contract?
Correct.
Right? And if you get multiple guys in a draft in Jacksonville that are getting to a second contract, you're hitting
That's
the draft.
a good way to put it. How many guys that get a second contract would satisfy you?
You had a bunch of guys, you had Ramsey and Miles Jack and Unique Ngakoue in the same draft. It's like, we did it. We finally hit one of these drafts. Well, they were gone.
Yeah.
Like, one of them got a second contract, and then he got moved quick. After he got the second contract. It was nice. They hit on all three of those guys, but they couldn't even hold on to that.
They were deserving of second contracts, got offered to some, certainly in the case of Jan. We all know how that whole draft class broke up. Although SI the other day, maybe ask Ship about this tomorrow, but they ranked the 2016 class the best in Jaguar history. We could debate that at some point. But right now, our man Tony Pauline, who just got on the line, he missed whole lot of love right there, Tony. But we were giving you a whole lot of love. There we go. There we go. A little bonus for Tony Pauline. I describe you, Tony, as maybe the self-proclaimed biggest Zeppelin fan in North America. Would that be fair?
See, I'm not a fan. Zeppelin's part of my DNA.
Okay.
I think when I was born, Zoso and the four symbols were somehow, etched into my DNA. So it goes beyond fandom. It's kind of scary if you ask my daughter.
What was it? It was like National Siblings Day, and you're like, my four brothers right here. I just wanted to say hello to, something along those lines.
Yeah, I saw it was National Siblings Day, so I had to post a picture of Zeppelin in front of the plane hanging out and just wish my bros a happy Siblings Day.
Right on, bro. All right. Well, Tone, what is? Well, give me one or two things that are like the buzziest things in the last couple weeks in terms of which player seems to be rising up boards. And we all understand that the true analysts, like your board's not going to be impacted by the way the wind blows in any given day. But the way the media is starting to pick up on things, like we're seeing Sam Laporta going from a third rounder to projected into the first round in some mock drafts. What are things that you're hearing, whether from inside sources or just noticing that people are catching up to in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot of names. I mean, the big name would be Darnell Wright, who I had thought was, I graded as a second rounder all along. It's obvious now he's going to be a first round pick. He could be a mid-first round pick. Adetomiwa Adewarbi of Northwestern, the big defensive tackle, who I gushed about during Senior Bowl because he had some dominant practices. He was great at the combine. He could end up in the late first round. I don't think, there's going to be a huge amount of movement. It wouldn't surprise me if Laporta's a late first round choice. I mean, he's been a terrific player for 3 years, a pass catcher and a blocker. He doesn't have the downfield speed of some of the other guys like Dalton Kincaid or Luke Musgrove. That wouldn't surprise me because I've always had him as a early second round choice.
All right, so do you think, just in general, what's your guess on the tight end position? Is it there's so many high-quality guys that we're going to see several go in the first round, or there's so many high-quality guys that teams are going to try to play chicken and wait as long as possible and still get maybe a Schoonmaker or a Laporta or whoever in the second or third?
It depends on the need. It depends on what are you drafting. You want a guy who's going to impact in 2023. You want a guy down the road that's going to impact. I still think there's going to be 3 tight ends selected in round 1. Michael Mayer of Notre Dame, Dalton Kincaid of Utah, Luke Musgrave of Oregon State. Then I have Sam Laporta, Iowa, Darnell Washington, Georgia, Tucker Kraft of South Dakota State coming off in round 2.
Beyond Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson, who is the most pro-ready outside linebacker or defensive end in this year's draft?
I mean, I like Murphy of Clemson, Miles Murphy. I think he had a terrific pro day. I think he's a sensational athlete. He's a guy who's a great pass rusher. He can make plays in space, good change of direction, plays with a good motor. He's a little bit slim, a little bit thin, so you're going to have to worry about him against the run. You're going to have to protect against that. But I think Miles Murphy is going to be a top 15 pick, potentially top 12 pick.
Well, he was here in Jacksonville visiting yesterday, and I don't think Jaguar fans would be too upset if they ended up going that direction, to be sure. Tony, Cam Smith is a guy, we talked about this cornerback class a good bit. Right now, how do you feel about him? Like, we're taking a look at Matt Miller, one of your cohorts over at ESPN, ranking him kind of as a low second rounder. We see him frequently mocked in the first round. What's the value range for Cam Smith out of South Carolina?
Won't be a first rounder. He's got a good amount of upside. But the fact is this, there are some off-the-field issues. He was a bit of a high-maintenance guy at South Carolina. He doesn't have a polished game. He's a guy that, if he gets his act together and improves his game, he could be a terrific number one corner down the road. But right now, I think there's about a less than a 5% chance he ends up as a first-rounder. I think he's probably mid-second round. Good size, outstanding speed, has flash ball skills. But like I said, he needs to polish his game, and he needs to basically grow up.
I'll see Mississippi State corner Emmanuel Forbes mocked in the first round sometimes. Mel Kiper had him at number 4 on his cornerback rankings that he put out before this draft on your big board. I saw that you have him with a third-round grade and 12th among corners on your list. Why?
Guy's 166 pounds, 6 foot 1/2 inch, 166 pounds. 170 pounds soaking wet. I mean, how is he going to win out in battles to defend throws? How is he going to defend the run? I mean, he's got decent ball skills. He's got terrific speed. You know, he's going to have to put on 15 pounds, if not 20 pounds, and keep that speed, keep that quickness. He may be a real good cornerback down the road, but the guy is rail thin at a position where you're asked to do a lot of physical activity, and I just don't see how he's going to hold up.
By the way, Tony Pauline put a mock draft out yesterday, which makes this perfect timing for having him on today. And Darnell Wright out of Tennessee was the selection in your mock for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tony, the last time you were on, you said you didn't think O'Cyrus Torrence was a first-round pick, didn't think he'd go in the first round, which is counter to a lot of the narrative out there. Since then, I've seen other draft pundits kind of, I don't know if they're falling in line or whatever the case. Matt Miller, for instance, in his updated list today had him at like 47. What is it, do you think, that is the media missing something? Are they propping him up because in their mind he's the best interior lineman and therefore he's got to go in the first round? What is it about O'Cyrus Torrence that has people disagreeing so much?
Well, first of all, it's debatable whether he's the top interior offensive lineman. I mean, is Peter Skronsky a guard or a tackle? But I mean, after that, there are a lot of people who like some of the centers, John Michael Schmitz of Minnesota, even Joe Tittman of Wisconsin have them rated higher than O'Cyrus Torrence. I think with O'Cyrus Torrence is he's a bit one-dimensional, and then he's a power gap guard. He's got a bit of an undeveloped body. Looked kind of flabby at that Florida Pro Day. He's unpolished, not the greatest athlete. You're not going to use him in a zone blocking system. But if you run a power gap offense, he's your guy. It just limits the attractiveness or the opportunities for him to go in the first round.
Tony, I've seen Lucas Van Ness mocked everywhere from number 6 to outside of the first round entirely. Where do you think is the proper range for him, and why is the evaluation so seemingly all over the place?
Late first round, I think in my mock I had him going to the New Orleans Saints as the end of the first round closes. I mean, people fall in love with the size and the speed. They see a great combine. When you watch the film, he caused an impact, but he's sort of the Malcolm Forbes of the defensive line, if you will, in the sense that he's a tall, thin guy. He struggles getting off blocks. He beats a lot of opponents with athleticism, which is a very easy thing to do on Saturday, much more difficult thing to do on Sunday. I have him as a late first rounder, early second rounder on my board. I think he ends up in the late first round. Again, someone who, once he physically matures, because he's a young guy, gets into an NFL weight training program, does some of the things on his own, could be a real good player down the road. But I think right now there are bumps in the road. You're taking a guy in the top 12. You're expecting him to start as a rookie and to really produce as a rookie. I don't see Lucas Van Ness doing that on a week-in, week-out basis.
Tony Pauline here with us from Pro Football Network for Our Money, the best in the business when it comes to draft analysis. Tone, you are bucking the four-letter network. You know that the groundswell is Bryce Young now as Carolina's pick. In your mock, you've still got C.J. Stroud there. When you do that, are you trying to get a sense of what you think Carolina's going to do, or are you saying, all right, they're going quarterback, and I think this is the right decision for them to make?
It's based on my conversations with people that are close to the situation. And my conversations with people close to the situation are that The front office has fallen in love with C.J. Stroud. They fell in love with him during the interview process. He comes across as a very genuine person. He understands mistakes that he's made in the past, and he's displayed, how he's tried to right those mistakes. I really have not heard any credible evidence coming out of it that Bryce Young is their guy. He could be, because what's going on now is the teams are having final draft meetings the next 2 weeks, and it could come out that it's going to be Bryce Young. But I've heard all along that the front office people want C.J. Stroud. Frank Reich, the coach, is partial to Anthony Richardson. I have really not heard a lot of talk coming out of there about Bryce Young. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm hearing present time.
What can you tell us about Georgia Tech defensive end Keon White?
Real good player, terrific athlete, started at Old Dominion, had some injury issues the past couple of years. He was dominant at times last year. I mean, he just took over games, had a real good Senior Bowl. I think he ran 140 during Pro Day. He ran a 4.75, hurt his hamstring. He's a guy with a lot of upside. He's a guy who needs to basically be more consistent with his production, but he's got excellent size, 6'3", 285 pounds. So he's one of those guys you can line him up at defensive end in a four-man front. You can kick him inside as an interior rusher. A lot of versatility there. But again, go back to Lucas Van Ness, someone who I think, is going to need some time before he's a consistent player on Sunday.
All right, let me go through with you, Tone, a little bit here on some guys that have visited with the Jags at the edge rush position that are likely to fall outside the first round. You tell us who's the better player here, or who the Jags should be interested in what range. You got Byron Young out of Tennessee, Colby Wooden out of Auburn, Derek Hall out of Auburn. Tony mentioned Keon White, Yaya Diaby out of Louisville. Those are the guys that based on the list, often fall out of the first round. What's the best plan of attack if you like some of those guys?
Yeah, Keon White's not going to be there for them in the second round.
Okay.
I'd be shocked if Byron Young is there for them in the second round. Colby Wooden, I watched him as a redshirt freshman. He impressed me incredibly. Game is kind of leveled off. He's a bigger guy. I don't know that he's a pure edge rusher. Derek Hall's a guy to watch. Derek Hall's a guy that you can stand over tackle, can come out of a three-point stance. He's also very, very good in space. Excellent space. He's a real complete player that I think while he needs to improve his skills in pass coverage, I don't think he's a liability there. He should be there in the second round. Diaby, I think he's more of a third, fourth round type of guy. Very athletic, flashed ability, not the biggest guy in the world. He's going to have to learn to play standing over tackle, which is what Derek Hall did really well at Auburn. If you're looking at that list and you say we got to get an edge rusher in the second round, I think that Derek Hall's your guy.
All right.
When do you think defensive lineman Kalijah Kancey should be drafted?
If it's up to me, it's a third round. But, I know he's getting a lot of first-round love. Maybe he slides into the late part of round one. I think the second round is a better place for him. The fact is this. Yes, he was super productive last year at Pittsburgh, but that Pittsburgh line had a lot of talent on it. They got a guy in Baldonado, one defensive end who's going to be drafted in day 3. They got another guy in Desir Alexander. If he's not drafted in the 7th round, he'll be signed immediately as a PFA. So he had talent there. And, Kancey's not the biggest guy in the world, 6'1", 280-plus pounds. He doesn't have great growth potential. Yeah, he's very athletic, but I think he's strictly a three-technique type of lineman, which reduces his attractiveness on draft day. Go back to Edibawari, the kid from Northwestern that I talked about, who is bigger, stronger. He's about 20 pounds. He's a few pounds heavier. He also ran the 40 2/10 faster than Kancey did at the combine. It had much better testing numbers. So if you're looking for a guy in round one that can be a three-technique tackle, you can play him on end on occasion, I'm absolutely going with Edibawari from Northwestern over Kalijah Kancey.
Which you did in your mock draft, having him come off the board at 30. By the way, go to ProFootballNetwork.com and check out Tony's hot off the presses mock that he posted yesterday. Tony, we saw Jim Nagy of the Senior Bowl tweet out on Monday that the media is way off on this wide receiver class from the people he's talking to, that most teams only have Jackson Smith and Jigba rated as a first-rounder. For you personally, how many wide receivers are worthy of top 31 selection this year?
Well, I have 3 receivers that have first-round grades. Jackson Smith-Njigba has always been my number 1 rated receiver, followed by Jordan Addison a bit further down, and then Quentin Johnson. That being the case, you probably could see 4 receivers being selected in the first round, and that 4th receiver is going to be Zay Flowers of Boston College. I think Jalen Hyatt has dropped down draft boards for a variety of reasons. I completely agree that Smith-Njigba is the best receiver in this year's class. Jordan Addison, you're looking at a guy he's a terrific receiver. He runs scissor-sharp routes, 5'11", 173 pounds, runs a 4.49, so he's not a downfield burner. He's got a smaller body. Quentin Johnson, highlights are great, Quentin Johnson. He's got excellent size at 6'2.5", 208 pounds. But when you really break down the film on Quentin Johnson, you see a guy that's not a natural pass catcher. He lets the ball get inside him, and he's a terrible route runner. So with Quentin Johnson, there's a lot of upside there, but there's also some risk.
Tony, look, I don't think the Jags are in the market for a wide receiver in the first round. They may draft one at some point, and maybe, I don't know, I'm not a guy who breaks down the film like you. I got total respect for what you do, but at 173, Jordan Addison needs to be like a 4.31 guy for me, man. I needs to be D-Jax, and is he just going to get pushed around? Are guys just going to come up and bump him off his route all day in the NFL?
Yeah, you're going to have to protect him, line him up in the slot, line him up off the line of scrimmage, keep him off of press coverage. But the thing about Addison is this, and you look at the league, the days of the 6'3", 210, 215-pound receiver going early in the draft is, unless your name is Calvin Johnson, is gone the way of the dinosaur. What the league wants is they want those quicker guys that can separate through their routes. That's what Smith-Njigba does so well. That's what Jordan Addison does incredibly well, which is why he's going to be selected, very early. That's what Quentin Johnson doesn't do well. That's what Jalen Hyatt doesn't do well. The speedster out of Tennessee, which is why he's fallen down draft boards.
Tony, who is a player or two about whom the public discussion is furthest away from how you've heard teams feel about the prospect?
I think Jonathan Mingo, the receiver from Mississippi, who is probably going to go much, much earlier than people are thinking. Jartavius Martin, the defensive back from Illinois, who wasn't even graded by scouts coming into the year, played corner, played safety. He projects as a safety right now. He's going to go much earlier. Earlier being, some people think, 3rd, 4th round. He could end up in the 2nd round. And you mentioned one guy before, Byron Young. I think Byron Young, he's not going to slide into the 1st round, but I think he's going to be off the board within the first 10 to 12 picks. The edge rusher from Tennessee, who had a real good season, had a terrific Senior Bowl, blew it up at the Combine. He's just a guy who's got to really develop his game and do more than just come out of a 3-point stance, but he can get up the field and make a lot of plays. So I think those 3 guys. Another Tennessee guy, Cedric Tillman, the receiver for the Volunteers. There are some teams that have him graded higher than Jalen Hyatt, and I could understand why. Cedric Tillman was the number 1 receiver coming into Tennessee this season. If you ever watch him, he plays the receiver position like a linebacker. I mean, he is that aggressive, and he's a great pass catcher. So I think Tillman is going to go earlier than people think, and it wouldn't be a surprise if he goes before his teammate Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, Cedric Tillman would be a legacy Jaguar, by the way, as his pop played here back in the 90s as well. Tone, I know you're a draft guy, so we'll focus on your draft evaluation of Jeff Okudah, who got flipped for a 5th-round pick to Atlanta yesterday. And we understand injuries have limited him. He hasn't lived up to the number 3 overall pick billing, but is this a worthwhile risk, in your opinion, for Atlanta to take? I mean, there's always a reason why a guy's available this cheap, right?
Yeah. I mean, 5th-round pick, you're not going to get a player in the 5th round this year that's going to offer the same potential as Jeff Okudah. I was never high on Jeff Okudah. I never thought he deserved the love that he got to be selected as early as he was. And literally, you look at that Ohio State program, whether it's Jeff Okudah, whether it's Eli Apple, whether it's Bradley Roby, I mean, it's been disappointment at the cornerback position for these guys that are taken in the 1st round, sometimes in the early 1st round. They never live up to expectations.
Tony, in 3 years, when we look back at this draft class, who will be the best player from this draft?
That's a good question. I'm going to go with Will Anderson. I would have said Jalen Carter, but, I mean, Will Anderson, I'm a guy who loves impact defensive players. I'm an old-school guy. I love left tackles. And when I see Will Anderson, I mean, here's a guy who tested reasonably well. He was a constant nuisance for 3 years for opponents. They had a game plan around him. I mean, people say he didn't have a good 2022 campaign. You look at his numbers were great. It's just that in 2021 he was unstoppable, which is why he entered the season as a Heisman Trophy candidate. But when you do so many things so well, and when you are as disruptive a force as Will Anderson is, I think it's a situation now where people are looking to find holes in his game. People are overlooking him, and people are forgetting what a dominant player he was for 3 years for the Crimson Tide.
Look, you and Pete Prisco might have a fist fight on that one, man, because Prisco's our guy, too, and he thinks you're a bunch of sheeple who love Will Anderson. So it's going to be fascinating to see exactly. I mean, I think most of the NFL seems to agree with you on that, but maybe we're being influenced by, the draft pundits as well. Tone, look, you're the best there is. Hopefully we can catch you early in draft week. I know how busy it is, but what do you have coming up? Like you have pods, you have videos. What do you want folks to know where they can catch more of your analysis between now and the draft?
Yeah, like I tell my wife, just Google my name and you'll find out where I'm at. But yeah, a lot of pod. We do the show with Trey Wingo every week. We are doing a live YouTube and a live stream cast on the first night of the draft. I don't know about the second night of the draft. Actually doing some TV in Connecticut. So I'll be all over the place. Just follow me on Twitter. Go to Pro Football Network. We'll have the 800 scouting reports up. So forget about the guys that the Jaguars select during the draft. There'll be plenty of information on those guys when they're selected, but the guys they sign afterwards as undrafted free agents, you'll be able to find info on them.
UDFAs, baby. At Tony Pauline on Twitter, which is just absolutely stupid that you're at 41,000 under 42,000 followers. I see people out there that are the dumb as a box of rocks with like 250,000 followers on Twitter. So, I mean, look, better for us, I guess, that we have the inside scoop, but give Tony a follow. I don't think you're going to find a more detailed draft analyst out there anywhere. Tony, all the best, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you briefly a couple weeks from now, right before the draft kicks off.
Absolutely, fellas. Thanks for having me back again.
Thank you, buddy. There he goes, the fifth member of Led Zeppelin, Tony Pauline, at least in his own mind. Love him, man. I mean, you can't throw a prospect at him, Tone, that he won't have a detailed answer for. And again, doesn't mean he'll be right on all these guys. He'll miss.
He's got an evaluation on all.
He's got his own evaluation on all these guys, and we love it. Does a great job, in our opinion. So if you want to comment on anything you heard from Tony Pauline or anything else Jaguars related, you know the ways to do it. 641-1010 on the phone lines or the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, or hit us up on Twitter. Today's question of the day having to do with Jeff Okudah. Would it have been worth the Jaguars offering a fourth rounder, considering he went for a fifth rounder to Atlanta? We'll talk about that one as the show rolls on. With Tony Smith and ET, I'm Mike Dempsey. Jaguars Today here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Good. You know you're driving around right now listening to Jaguars Today thinking, man, lunch is coming up. I have not made a plan. Here's your plan. You swing into the local gate station and head to the Fresh Case. Enjoy a little AC and, get yourself a selection. Give yourself a couple of minutes because they're going to have fantastic variety. You know, every sandwich, every sub, every item that Dandy puts out under their name, the Anytime Deli label, is made with the highest quality ingredients, locally sourced as often as possible. They're going to give you a fantastic variety of options. They're going to keep the prices down. It's in and out. It's convenient. It's great. It's a company that gives you what you're paying for and more every single time. How else do you think they have thrived here in the city of Jacksonville for over 65 years? Love the Thompson family. Love Dandy sandwiches. Eat them myself all the time. Save me a tuna salad while you're at it. If you're hungry in Jayville, baby, do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy. And do it today.
Keeping the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios clean. It's a Waste Management Wednesday on 1010XL. JOI, where the pros go.
Now is the best time to visit CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. With any new outdoor kitchen purchase, you can receive a Gosney Rockbox pizza oven for free. Only until April 20th. You dream it, they build it at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living.
Hey, I'm Liz Gruby, the events director of the Jacksonville Business Journal, and I'm here to invite you to join us for our annual 40 Under 40 celebration. It's a great chance to network and celebrate an excellent group of young leaders from all different industries. For tickets and details, visit jbjevents.com. And I hope to see you at our 40 Under 40 Awards Luncheon on April 20th at the Hyatt Regency Riverfront. jbjevents.com.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit Coastal Equipment today and go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Coastal Equipment.
Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
You've been injured in a car accident, and the insurance company denies your medical bills, denies to pay your lost wages, and won't repair your car. Then it's time to fight back. Time to call Farah and Farah at 396-5555. Jacksonville.
In sports, the grind outside the lines is what ultimately defines our success. Get the amateur's edge, powered by B3 Better, to learn the hidden path of top pros, amateurs, and coaches. Saturday mornings at 11 on 1010XL.
I'm Jeff Middlecoff with Trustline Mortgage. My business partners, Alan Tyre, Bill Pappas, and Ken Rimley, have been helping clients all over Florida with their construction perm loans for 34 years. Construction perm loans are not easy to find because a lot of banks and credit unions don't understand them, and therefore they don't like to do them. Well, your problem is solved. Trustline Mortgage wants to help you build your dream home. Our construction perm loans are single close, so you save money by not having to close twice, like with other lenders. Some of our construction perm loans allow you to lock in your interest rate up front. And if interest rates go down, we'll give you the better rate. We offer up to 100% VA loans, up to 96.5% for FHA loans, and up to 95% for conventional loans. Call Trustline Mortgage today at 381-LOAN. That's 381-LOAN to find out how we can help you build your dream home. Or visit our website at trustlinemortgage.com. Trust your instincts and follow the line to Trustline Mortgage.
Certain restrictions apply. See office for details. Trustline is an equal housing lender. MLS number 331480.
Jacksonville has some junk, and J-Dog is removing it. They're here to do the dirty work. You don't want to remove and dispose of large furniture or appliances yourself? Call J-Dog. Here now, proudly serving you, removing junk from your home or business. They can even handle small demolition projects, and they're still donating local items to veterans in need. So let J-Dog do the dirty work for you. J-Dog Junk Removal, veteran-owned and operated. JDog.com.
Round up your friends and coworkers for the start of the Topgolf Spring Leagues. Each Monday from 6 to 9 p.m. for 8 weeks, you and your crew can compete for prizes and fun at Topgolf Jacksonville. Go to topgolf.com/leagues to sign up.
Imagine kicking back with a cocktail and enjoying beautiful views of Riverside, the St. Johns River, and downtown. You can do just that from the rooftop bar at Black Sheep in historic 5 Points. Happy hour is Tuesday through Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. For all you night owls, enjoy nightcap specials on Friday and Saturday from 10 p.m. to midnight. Snack on some delicious offerings from the bar menu like fried green olives or the famous Black Sheep Burger. Make your next happy hour at Black Sheep.
Now, look, I know you guys aren't excited that we're on your team, but we're here.
Joe Coward.
Guys, we're in this thing together.
Matt Hayes.
I'm asking you, believe in yourselves.
Leon Searcy.
Believe in each other.
And Mia O'Brien.
Let's put on our leg warmers, and let's dance our asses off.
Noon to 3 on 1010XL. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
I mean, fifth round pick, you're not going to get a player in the fifth round this year that's going to offer the same potential as Jeff Okudah. I was never high on Jeff Okudah. I never thought he deserved the love that he got to be selected as early as he was.
Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
By the way, you can go back. Tony Pauline archives all his stuff. It's not like, it's easy to say, I didn't like that guy that much anyway. In fact, I thought he had a very tender Achilles. Let's not be silly.
Slender ankles, Eli Manning.
Oh, gosh. We're just talking here about Jameson Williams in relation to what he's going to do to that passing game. And my buddy Rich is down here. He's like, you're worried about his size? I'm like, no. Not that guy. He runs like the wind.
He does.
He separates. He's got hand. He's as good as anybody, I think, in last year's class when healthy, and he'll be healthy this year. Anyway, Tony Pauline, fantastic. Love that. Let me just run through the rest of this list, Tony. We've touched on a lot of these guys. Very high on Derek Hall in terms of guys who visited with the Jaguars, right? Very high on Byron Young, just doesn't think he'll be there for them in the second round. He's going to fall somewhere between 24 and 56. So, if you don't go the Miles Murphy route or the Nolan Smith route, Tyree Wilson's a dream. Keon White, again, won't be available to the Jags at 56. You still see him in mocks slipping into the end of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go that route among the edge rushers that the Jaguars have visited with, and they've done it with 8 plus another 3 defensive linemen on top of that. I saw the Byron Young visit news, right? And I'm like, why are they visiting with Bryce Young? And because it's like, my mind just made that leap. It's Byron Young out of Alabama. And I'm like, what? This makes no sense now. Now Balky's just trolling. But you had Tyler Lacey out of Oklahoma State, Scott Matlock out of Boise State, Byron Young, defensive linemen who are not classified as pure edge rushers. So that's 11 out of 16 known visits for the Jaguars that have been front seven, get us some pass rush type guys. They've also, that we know of, visited with Cooper Hodges, an offensive lineman out of Appalachian State, Carter Warren out of Pitt, another offensive tackle, which you can't read everything into that, right? You could scout guys without having these visits, as we talked about, but if you're just trying to draw from this list, it's like, well, they're going to draft an edge, maybe a couple of them, and maybe very early, and they're going to go, like, we recognize we got to add to this offensive line, but maybe Cam, Walker Little, I know everybody's down on Josh Wells, and I understand he's not, you're losing something by losing, Jawan Taylor to downgrade here to this other swing tackle, but you hope that guy never plays.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they go the route of, let's get a guy out of App State, let's say, for instance, and we get him later. We can focus on improving our defense. Trevor's going to improve our offense and continue to improve that. It's asking a lot, though. He did a good job getting rid of the ball so quickly. If they go into it right now, Tony, with the offensive line they have, right, the projected, you can say Barch or Shatley at guard, Little will project as your right tackle. Will Trevor Lawrence be able to protect himself as well as he did last year? You would think, all right, well, if he was able to get rid of it in 2.9 seconds last year, he's going to be the game slows down.
Yeah.
Mentally should be able to do that again. But is that asking too much of your franchise quarterback? Should they, what I mean? I mean, that's one of the great debates here.
No doubt. And look, it's rare in the NFL that you can lose your starting left tackle and not lose anything, right? Like on the field, you don't have to change everything you're doing. You don't have to protect this guy on the left side and Walker Little. You just play him and say, all right, he's the left tackle. We're going to do what we usually do. Right? Like, that doesn't usually happen in the NFL. They had that luxury last year. It doesn't appear – they don't have it right now, right, with Josh Wells. If Cam Robinson were to come back and he got hurt at some point and Walker Little's playing right tackle for you, maybe you move him to left tackle and Josh Wells plays right tackle at that point would be the plan. But something's going to get hurt, right, if you have to go that direction as opposed to last year when it's – look, I think – all 3 of these guys are starting offensive tackles in the league. Only 2 of them get to start, right? It's the situation the Jags had last year. Odds are they're not going to have that this year unless they were willing to spend high draft capital to make that happen. And they've brought in a couple guys that make you think, well, maybe they are willing to, at 24 or in the second round, bring in a guy who's going to be that swing tackle as opposed to Josh Wells. But they haven't done it yet. So we don't know what that looks like yet. As of now, one of those tackles goes down. Josh Wells is playing, and that's not as good as one of those tackles goes down and Walker Little's playing. It's just not, right? And it's hard to have that kind of depth at that position in the league.
As much as I would be fine if they don't draft a running back, they have shown some interest in running backs, and then there's not going to be an early pick. I'm sorry, Bijan. Tyjae Spears out of Tulane, Dwayne McBride out of UAB, 2 guys that have visited with them. That there have been reports that they're interested in Roshan Johnson out of Texas, who was Bijan's caddy, so to speak, and Kendry Miller, another running back that they've shown some level of interest in. So, it's possible to look at Dearness Johnson like, hey, he's going to be a great special teams contributor.
Right.
If he has to play running back, fine, we can get by with that, but we still want to add a little juice to the position so we can make him a core 4 special teams guy. And, and Quentin Johnson, that's the one that's just kind of weird, right, in the whole mix. And I get what Tony Pauline is saying. That big guy, like if you're rare, like Calvin Johnson, and you got it if you're Andre Johnson, massive guy, but in and out of breaks, got the speed. These big straight line receivers is not the way the NFL is going right now. I still, though, don't want anything to do with Jordan Addison. I just don't. I mean, again, the right system, right circumstance, maybe a hell of a player. I'm not saying the Jags are really, you would even consider him in the first round anyway. But still, a 173-pound receiver better be blazing, in my opinion. Pete Prisco put out his better than list, his annual, I like these guys better than some of the big name guys. So when we come back on the other side, we'll run through. There are several names on there that have been connected with the Jags by the media, by draft analysts, by us, whatever the case may be. And we'll take a look at some of those circumstances, and we'll also take a look at the question of the day. Should the Jaguars have been willing to give up a 4th-round pick for Jeffrey Okudah, the former number 3 overall selection 3 drafts ago, went to Atlanta for a 5th-rounder yesterday. We'll discuss that and more when we come back here on Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. Yeah, you know it. That tinkling sound of glass is disturbing, especially when it's a golf ball being struck through your window. I had that happen to me, but look, I knew who to go to. Pella Windows and Doors are a great company staffed by amazing professionals that are as knowledgeable as anybody in the industry, and it's backed up by Consumer Reports. Their overall top choice, Consumer Reports says Pella is for energy efficiency and stylish design. You want your house to look great? You want the conditions inside to feel great? I've got that at my house. I don't know what better endorsement I can give you that I trust them to come into my home and take care of my home and add value to it. When you need to replace your windows or doors or just interested, visit the Pella showroom. They're on Phillips Highway next to Tesla. Find them online at PellaJacks.com.
It's another Waste Management Wednesday in the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios on 1010XL.
Honda has done it again with their all-new exciting SUV and truck lineup for 2023. HRV, Pilot, Passport, Ridgeline trucks, and our popular CRV hybrid. This is without a doubt Honda's most impressive lineup. Visit your local Honda dealer today. We're dealing.
Your AC's broke, it ain't no joke. Call Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. FloridaHomeAC.com.
When you look for that hard-to-find part for your car or truck, Rusty Acres is your source for used Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury auto parts. You'll get the parts you need and advice on how to install them. Rusty Acres, 786-1777.
Do you want or need to sell your home and you're just worried about the potential problems that are out there? Let me make you feel better. Go to ChadandSandy.com. You see Chad and Sandy, the real estate experts who guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. What does this mean for you? It means you can and will have a smooth home selling process. Take Ken and Monica in Cunningham Creek out in St. Johns County, who say, we were ready to retire and move to the mountains. I heard about Chad and Sandy on the radio, and what they say is true. We hired them, got multiple offers in 16 days, and sold above asking price. We can retire in style thanks to Chad and Sandy. Those are the success stories that are out there. Don't miss out. Call the agents I trust and recommend to sell my home. Chad and Sandy guarantee to sell your home or they will buy it. Call Chad and Sandy today at 904-414-6200 or go to ChadandSandy.com. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com. Call today.
Jeff Lageman, Kevin Faber, and Kirk Waltz bring you into the outdoors.
We've got 3 big bucks.
On the Nimnicht Outdoor Show, presented by Duck Duck Rooter, 7 to 10 every Saturday morning on 1010XL.
Serving the First Coast for over 20 years, Instant Keys offers honest, professional locksmith service for the replacement of lost, stolen, or broken keys and remotes. Get dealer-level service at a fraction of the time and cost. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
I'm Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. Since 1928, the thing that set us apart have been the standards of excellence we set for our diamonds and jewelry. When it comes to diamonds, we have grading standards we've set for our diamonds that are constant and don't move, unless science and gemology dictate a change for the better for the customer. That's what happened in 1995 when the American Gem Society opened a diamond grading laboratory that graded round diamonds for the quality of their cut. So we started sending our diamonds to the laboratory for grading reports. Then again, when optical scientists determined a better way to both cut and grade diamonds based on scientifically proven light performance of the diamond, we adopted these scientifically proven standards for cut grading diamonds because we know at Underwoods it's what a diamond does with light that makes it beautiful. These standards of excellence really mean something. So come see us at Underwoods in San Marco, Avondale, and the Shops of Ponte Vedra.
1010XL is your home for Gators sports.
That ball's ripped.
When you hear Florida Gators baseball on 1010XL, it's brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733.
Fair ball, home run.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL.
Fact, we all want to feel better, especially when our joints hurt. Are you stuck on the sidelines but want to get back in the game of life? My friend Dr. Alan Nathans has a no-needle regenerative clinic for people with degenerated arthritic joints, like bone-on-bone knees, shoulders, hips, and more. He uses no-needle soft wave tissue regeneration technology that activates your own stem cells to grow brand new tissue. Long-term results. Don't do another cortisone injection. Dance at 50, golf at 60, river run at 70. Yes, yes, and yes. Check out Dr. Nathans at drnathans.com.
Attention golfers, Hidden Hills Golf Club has become an attractive destination for golfers all over North Florida. You too will enjoy our classic Arnold Palmer design that'll test your game and keep you coming back. Book a tee time today at hiddenhillsgc.com.
Share your life with 1010XL. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Oh, wait. I'm going to take a picture and post it on Facebook.
What?
Hashtag
1010XL. Jaguars today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Here's a guy who tested reasonably well. He was a constant nuisance for 3 years for opponents. They had a game plan around him. I mean, you know, people say he didn't have a good 2022 campaign. You look at his numbers were great. It's just that in 2021, he was unstoppable, which is why he entered the season as a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Jaguars today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Pete Prisco says, boo hiss, don't like Will Anderson. Not put it this way, doesn't like him nearly as much as the consensus says. Tony Pauline has him as the number one player on his board.
Yep.
Right, so can't like him more than that in a particular draft class. I'm a little confused here. Somebody requested, after a whole lot of love, that you play Kashmir.
Right.
Which you did as the intro.
Right.
You know, like, I got you. He's like, you rock. Great intro, huh, E.T.? Then he follows up. I bet they have no idea who it was. Like, who's he talking about?
Oh, they tripping. They sleep on y'all musical catalog.
It's freaking Zeppelin has a very distinctive sound.
Yes, they do.
Thank you for. I didn't know there are a lot of music pieces that E.T. plays that I got to ask my man, who's that E.T.?
Right, so that's why I thought it was something else, but they definitely know Zepp.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. So there's that. E.T.'s learning every day about the. E.T.'s got a broad base of knowledge. Here, let me run through Prisco's better than list, Tony. Just a few highlights here. We got to get to the question of the day, presented by Chad and Sandy Real Estate. Siaki Ika, defensive tackle out of Baylor. Love his game. 6'3", 335 pounds. True space eater in the middle. I feel like that kind of defensive tackle is a little bit of a luxury for the Jags? How do you feel about that? Like,
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's available to them in the third round.
No, probably not.
Right, and you do see him mocked in the third round sometimes.
Yeah, I think they got two guys on the roster that can do that job right now. Now, neither of those guys are long-term, right? Because who knows what the future is going to be for Fatukasi. They don't have anything beyond this year, basically, for Devon Hamilton. So it's short-term with the answers they have at that kind of spot right now. But I would be surprised if they're going to make that a priority, in day 1 or day 2 of the draft.
A couple of tight ends here, including Luke Schoonmaker, we talked a little bit about today.
Yep.
Pete likes his blocking abilities. Only 251, so you can get a little bit bigger. He's a good receiver. He's just not a field stretcher, right? Like, not going to take the top off the defense, as Pete says. Thinks more like a Dalton Schultz type, who played very well for Dallas when healthy the last few years. Now in the division with Houston, and Sam Laporta also in there. There's nothing more complimentary in today's game than saying a tight end runs his routes like a receiver, and that is how Pete describes Laporta, and you were seeing him rocket up the mock draft boards anyway. Maybe, we do this every year. Teams are probably sitting back going, we knew that, or maybe they don't, because they don't always make wise picks. Marvin Mims, the receiver out of Oklahoma, I've seen him, people speculate on him to the Jags in, the second round.
Yeah.
Big-time speed. Let's see, who else did he have on here? Clark Phillips, who we talked about his scouting report, his amazing scouting report from Lance Zierlein the other day. Plays with, what was it, ferocity or all that stuff that he had on there. But in terms of the player, we brought him to Tony Paulie, and Tony Paulie's like, oh, yeah, that's a baller right there. So they agree in that point. And those are, the main ones that I caught on his list. But, Pete does a great job with that every year. And, look, Pete's going to miss some. Tony's going to miss some. Kuiper, they're all going to miss some. I just like guys
in exact science, because there's a bunch of teams that are going to miss a bunch too.
Sure they are. And I get Pete's point. We call them the sheeple. Everyone falls in line. You're almost afraid to have a mock draft that has an outlier in it because, what are you talking about? How can that be? And then as soon as Tannenbaum puts Hendon Hooker in his mock draft saying, I don't even think Seattle would do this, but I would do this at 5, bam, Hendon Hooker is in 50% of the mock drafts in the first round.
Yeah.
Now, not top 10, but so there is some follow the lead going on.
No doubt. It happens every year. It's predictable, right? That kind of thing's going to happen. Someone's going to step out, and everyone's going to be like, oh, it's okay to step out on this opinion that I've had for 2 months now, right? Like that
now
kind
I'm
of
not
thing.
alone on that limb.
Yeah.
It's scary, man. But,
Yeah.
That's why, Pete has his opinions, guys, and they're Pete's opinions. And I respect guys like that. I respect Kuiper. Kuiper's got, but and I think he misses a bunch as well.
For sure.
But he's got his own opinions.
It's a fool's errand, right? Evaluating these guys.
I love it,
It's a fool's errand. I love it, right? It's conversation fodder for these multiple months leading up to it. We enjoy all the draft conversations, but in the end, players are going to be evaluated based on what happens 3-4 years from now.
All right, let's cast a vote here as we take in the 10-10 take.
10-10
take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take, brought to you by Northern Tool. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com. We're made for this.
All right, we'll give you our take on the Chad and Sandy Real Estate question of the day. Chad and Sandy Real Estate guarantees you multiple offers on your home in 3 days, or they'll sell it free. It's a pretty good deal. ChadandSandy.com. ChadandSandy.com is where you'll find them. Tony, how did you cast your vote, and why should the Jacksonville Jaguars have been willing to trade a 4th-round pick to Detroit for former overall number 3 pick cornerback Jeff Okudah, who went to Atlanta for a 5th-rounder?
My reaction when I saw the trade had gone down was the Jags gave up a 5th-round pick and got back a 3rd and Dan Arnold for C.J. Henderson, right, from the same draft. That was the same draft with those two guys, and I thought the Jags won it.
Big
right,
time.
Right? That was my thought. It was the Jags recognized early on with C.J. Henderson, it's not the player we thought he was. It's not developing the way that we thought it would or should, and we gave him, we criticized them for making the pick and having to move on from it as quickly as they did, but they did, right? They bit the bullet. They wound up getting a 3rd-round pick for it. That turned into Chad Muma. ultimately for the Jags. So we'll see how it works out long term for this Jacksonville team. I think good on Detroit for biting the bullet, right? Like you've had this guy in house for 3 years. You've decided it's not going to work.
So you're bulky masterclass.
Yeah, I'm
You're
more
trusting.
bulky masterclass that I think Detroit got out of it when they had to. Good on Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta got jobbed in this deal.
By the way, Atlanta, the pick apparently is the one the Jags sent in the Calvin Ridley deal.
Yeah.
So they're looking at, well, we flipped Calvin Ridley for Jeff Okudah and whatever. Okay. You know?
I'll take the
I'll
Ridley
take
into that
Ridley as
every
well.
time. Yeah.
But I'll be honest, my initial reaction, and I'm not pro personnel guy. I'm not grading Jeff Okudah. I'm not
Sure.
watching Detroit every week. My initial reaction was, that second, fourth round pick, I'd probably roll the dice, and I'd probably do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, they're watching. They are pro personnel people. They're watching
an
it, right?
evaluation
And you
on
got to
them, yeah.
trust in that instance. So I think it's two
Why are
different
you doing
answers.
it if you don't trust it?
I would do it
Yeah.
because I would take the chance, but I respect them not doing it. So I'm going to still be in the I'm trusting Trent. I'm trusting Doug. I'm trusting the brain trust right now. They're looking. They know they need corner depth and help, and they're probably looking at like, oh, we could do this, or we can. We know we're going to probably take one pretty early, and then how many picks are we investing in the cornerback position? Things like that.
Sure.
So I'm probably more on the bulky masterclass side, although my personal reaction was I would have done that deal for the second, fourth round pick. E.T., what say you?
I said, give me a hell yeah.
E.T. wants him some Okudah right there.
I was high on him when in the draft, and we need help in that position. So it would have been worth it to kick the tires on it.
You're saying roll the dice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the thing, look, I get Atlanta's not picking up his fifth-year option. And it doesn't make sense to guarantee him $11 million for next year, right? But the feeling is, okay, if he doesn't work out, you expended a fifth-round pick. It was worth a shot. There are plenty of fifth-round rookies that don't work out. But if he does work out, maybe you re-sign him. But if you don't re-sign him and he signs somewhere else, maybe you recoup a compensatory pick. Maybe it's a fifth. Maybe it's a fourth.
Yeah.
Depending on what he gets.
It's one of these weird situations where I don't think there's a wrong answer. Right? Like
there's a wrong answer.
Like I think
we just don't know what it is.
Right.
yet.
Like I think the Atlanta Falcons, fine. You give up a fifth-round pick for 1 year of Okudah, fine. Like it makes sense for you to make that kind of deal. We'll see what compensatory pick they may get on the other end of it. And how the league feels about this player next offseason in free agency, right? So we'll get a true evaluation of the player at that point. And I understand sitting back on it and saying, look, if Detroit's willing to move off this guy after 3 years, why would I give up anything for him? Right? Like,
Correct.
I understand that
And
side of it,
there
too.
definitely is that out there.
Yeah.
They're only available for a reason. But you know what? Detroit's probably like, we're not going to pick up the fifth-year option. If we can flip him, get something. They did load up on corner in free agency.
Yeah.
That's part of why he's available. The Jags didn't have a fourth-rounder last year, right? But, would you take the chance on 1 year of Okudah versus Snoop Connor in the fifth? Yes. Greg Jr., Monteric Brown, two defensive back picks in the 6th and 7th round. Will they ever be anything other than depth for this football team?
Not likely.
Right. So, again, you reach a point where your fourth-round pick, especially when you got two of them, you'd have if you're going to give them that second one up, and why wouldn't that have gotten it? It's better than any fifth out there. Will those first 5 picks be significant contributors? Of course, they got to look at it like, hey, we're not just – sometimes you got to throw a lot of darts knowing you're only going to hit 60% or whatever.
Yeah.
So lessens your opportunities. By the way, poll numbers on that right now, 53.9. So call it 54% say yes, worth the gamble. 46.1 say no. Again, my gut, without watching anything, I wonder if they could take us in there and go, and there are no highlights to show you. Like, here's the film. Here's why. It would probably make
he had
for
a pick six last year. His lone interception. But
one event, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that'll wrap it up for us today. Let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Tire Outlet. Keeping the rubber on the road with wholesale prices and premium service. Tire Outlet, Jacksonville's largest locally owned automotive repair shop.
All right, Matt Hayes in the house. Hello, Matthew.
What's up, fellas? We are 1 day removed from 2 weeks away.
Yes,
from
we
the
are.
draft.
We always think in these weird increments, right? We're 2 weeks plus 1 day from the NFL draft plus
It's gone so
8
quick.
hours.
It's literally gone so quick.
You think so?
Yeah, because
well,
you know why? Because you typically talk about the draft in October.
No, you know why? That's true, right? But you also, on your show, talk about the Masters. You talk about baseball and NCAA tournament, and we're like, draft, get here already, damn it. I'm sure you discussed this yesterday, but I didn't hear your thoughts on it. Should the Jags have offered up a 4th rounder for Jeff Okudah?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Missed opportunity.
Just because, I mean, it's a flyer. And how many 4th-round guys are flyers?
Well, we just looked at the 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks for the Jags last year, and they're all flyers, as it turns out. You know, and a couple of them were defensive backs. You do need the position, you know.
You do. But what if he's another Chris Henderson and he comes in there and it's just
well, that's it, right? I mean, they're obviously the NFL knows who Jeff Okudah is. They have his film, and that's the best. We saw the rumor when it first came out that the Rams were going to offer a 3rd plus a little teaser on the back end, and I was like, that's maybe getting a little rich for 1 year of Jeff Okudah, but 5th rounder, you're like, damn, the NFL's really down on this guy. So anyway, what are you guys getting into today?
We will talk draft, of course. We also got Austin Barber, starting left tackle for Florida Gators. Their spring game is tomorrow. He's from Trinity Christian, former Trinity Christian star. So he'll come on right at the top of the hour, and we'll talk a little Gator football.
All right. Interested to talk about Gator football, maybe get his thoughts on a couple of those Georgia pass rushers and his thoughts. You know, it's tough for a Gator to say a nice thing about a Georgia
Bulldog.
Bulldog.
With him last year, yeah.
Right,
definitely.
exactly. Matt, have a good show.
All right.
Appreciate it, brother. All right. Thank you to all of you out there in Radio Land for listening in to Jaguars Today this morning. Tony Pauline for joining us. Tony Smith and E.T. for having my back always, but particularly yesterday. I got John Shipley in tomorrow, right, Tone?
Yep, that's the plan. Tom McManus on Friday, and we'll see you on Monday out at the Guggen.
Oh, baby, that's right. We're at the Guggen. I'm glad you reminded me. Hidden Hills once again. So we had a beautiful broadcast perch.
We did,
last year. Right now, tentatively, could be golf today. Tomorrow, I saw scattered tornadoes possible.
But they're scattered.
Probably going to skip tomorrow, but Friday's looking good. Saturday's looking good. Sunday's iffy. I'm going to see how many rounds I can get in the next few days at least. Give it a go. But check in, of course, with Jaguars Today, as you always do, and I'll be listening tomorrow because my tee time's probably going to get washed out. So I'll hear you and Ship and E.T. breaking it down. All right, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for listening once again. Stay tuned. XL Primetime is coming up next on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Yo, Jacksonville, who want to eat a W?
It's a Waste Management Wednesday on Jaguars Today.
Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios.
JOI, where the pros go.
I'm Jeff Lauderman, right here on the flagship station of the Jaguars. That's a heck of a catch. 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Ace Carline here from my friends at Claude Nolan Cadillac. I was just there for my routine service. They have more new cars now than any time in the past 2 years. An increasing number of vehicles continue to be delivered. No worries on rates. They have fantastic rates right now. There's so much more than just pre-owned Cadillacs in stock. Get down to Claude Nolan Cadillac today. Tell them I sent you. New or certified pre-owned. Begin your lasting relationship at Claude Nolan Cadillac off JTB and Southside across from Tinseltown.
The Northeast Florida Safety Council has been keeping Florida safe for 80 years. I'm Megan Ehlers, Member Services Specialist. Whether your organization is large or small, we're a nonprofit that provides the services you need to take the worry out of compliance. Benefits of membership include thousands of online and instructor-led safety and health classes, learning management system access, safety walkthroughs, orientation program development, and consulting services. For more on becoming a member, visit nefsc.org.
Did you know that all graduates of Local 234's apprenticeship program are licensed journeymen? That means all plumbers, pipe fitters, welders, and HVAC techs will have hundreds of hours of experience and have passed the Jacksonville City Licensed Journeyman exam. They're the best trained and safest skilled tradespeople in the industry. Don't leave yourself exposed to inadequate workmanship or even danger. Always hire a licensed journeyman.